This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
What's good, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Cover One Film Room, powered by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, the show that gives you the hows and the whys behind both the good and the bad of the Buffalo Bills. I am one of your two hosts, Anthony Prohaska, joined as always by Erik Turner. And Erik, survive in advance.
Yes.
Single elimination. A win is a win is a win. And this was a good win, but for a lot, I guess a lot of folks, it was a bad win in a multitude of ways, which is weird times. Win wasn't pretty enough for some people. Bills and Ravens has turned into like Red Sox, Yankees times 1,000, apparently. A lot of weird times, but a lot of the source of those weird times is because it's playoff time. The Bills have beaten the Denver Broncos. They are on to the divisional round against the Baltimore Ravens. But Erik, we are here to dissect and talk about Bills, Broncos, the game that was, as we do here, put a bow on it, wrap it up nice and neat, and then full send into the next round against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, that was a fun game to be at too. I came into town for the game, and that was actually my first playoff game, believe it or not.
Oh.
My first playoff game, and so
first football playoff game, and also is it your first any sport playoff game?
Technically, yes. Actually, yes.
Cool.
And so I came into town, a couple days early, got to spend some time with the family, which was great. Went to the game, did the whole tailgating scene, which was obviously amazing. The weather was surprisingly warm.
Yeah, not bad.
It was nice. My wife and I went to the game. Got some very nice seats from some friends of ours that we've had here in the film room. So big thanks to them. And it was awesome, man. The crowd was great. And like my main takeaway of being at that game was that the Bills on both sides of the ball, they just had a sense of like composure and poise that I know a lot of fans that, when I came home, when they're talking about the game or on the way out, a lot of people were worried about the slow start and that they kind of came out flat per se, but in the stadium, it didn't really feel that way. There was a sense of like calm in the stadium that I think resonated from the team. And as we're going to show you in the film tonight, we're going to show you how prepared they were and how they adjusted and some things that we saw on both sides of the ball that translated throughout the season and have developed through the season in the past few years, but also things that are going to carry into this game against the Ravens.
Absolutely. And I think that's very well said. It kind of the poise in the sense that's a cool detail of like the calm in the stadium. I'll say even for, we talked about it last week in scouting the Broncos for this game. We both thought highly of them as a team and like several of the pieces that they had and what they were doing offensively and defensively. And even when they went up 7-0 and Troy Franklin ran through, I was just kind of like, I wasn't like, oh no, I was just like, that's fine. And I don't know if it's because we've done this so much. And I hate saying this because people are good. I just feel like people are just waiting for it to come back and bite us. But this team just, okay, you punched us. Now we're going to counter. We're going to adjust. We're going to kind of go from there. Sooner or later, I guess maybe law of averages, it'll come back to bite them. But I don't know if it was that or this team having the experience they had, or maybe it was Denver related. I'm sure it was a combination of things for me. But yeah, even just going down early and then only getting 3, I wasn't like, oh no, like this is bad. And I thought that was nice to see in the team. And it's cool to hear that was kind of reflected within the stadium and that feel. And I think that's an element too, for as much as we've had these playoff failures for this team, this is a very like playoff tested group, like in a positive way. The coaching staff, the players, like even though they lost some of them, like the leadership, this is a tried and true group. And as Cam Morey says here, the start seemed sort of slow, but there were only 3 offensive drives and they moved the ball well on all 3, 2 red zone drives. 1 started on the 1 and they still moved the ball like 40 yards. Yeah. The Bills offensive drives. I mean, I think the Bills defensive tape, the film was like 32 minutes long because the Broncos like never had the ball in this game.
Yeah.
And it was overall obviously a good performance, but I think that's an aspect we don't talk about enough. I think so much of the playoff conversation is McDermott's failures or can they beat Kansas City? And as a group or as a fan base, it gets lost that this is a team with a lot of playoff experience for better or for worse. And so kind of just being here in these situations, good or bad, good teams, bad teams, they've really seen everything, and those failures and those scars, open you up for the future.
Exactly. That's what I was going to use, the scars. McDermott has talked about that. And yes, a lot of those scars, from a fan's perspective, I'm sure are mostly negative, but
Yeah.
like you said, there's a lot of positives too, home game against the Broncos. And I thought you nailed it. I think, with the limited drives by the Bills, they actually still had some very good ball control overall in this game, limited the offensive plays for the Broncos, and kind of heightened each play for that young quarterback too, because obviously, the Bills wanted to come in and shut the run game down. We're going to show you some of that stuff, but every play and every rep for the Broncos offense mattered that much more because the Bills are stacking points, and you got a young quarterback who's trying to work against Sean McDermott and Bob Babbage, who have schemed very well against these young quarterbacks, as we'll talk about a little later. I think that put a lot of pressure on Knicks and that Broncos offense, and they just couldn't keep up. And I think, as you said, the defensive film for the Bills was so short because the Bills were able to control the clock with their offense.
Yeah, and that really worked well in their favor. And putting, we talked about it last year with the high ball control offense under Ken Dorsey, and then only getting 3 at the end of those drives. We talked about it makes every single possession that much more important, every play that much more important. And if you can do that to an opponent, especially with a rookie quarterback in the playoffs, that's a recipe for success, as is some of the particulars that we're going to get into. And yeah, overall, again, it's hard to nitpick a 31-7 victory where you're resting a little bit in the fourth quarter and kind of just teeing off and getting comfortable and thinking about the next matchup a little bit. And especially when it started out, I mean, they essentially scored 31 unanswered points in that game. You go down 7-0, you give up a bomb. There was that potential for, does Knicks get comfortable? Is Sean Payton feeling it? What's happening? And the Bills are like, no, we're fine. Just stay as planned. And some of the adjustments they made, especially on the defensive side, some of the tweaks, I'm excited to get in that, as we are for the offensive pieces as well. Erik, anything else on the high-level takeaways before we talk about some things from our partners at BetUS?
No, that's good, and we'll jump into the film here right afterwards.
Beautiful. So wanted to bring this. I'm sure this will make some fans upset, but we wanted to bring up this graphic from our friends over at BetUS. Right now, they have their top 5 most likely Super Bowl matchups. For our audio listeners, we'll read these off for you. So we've got the Chiefs-Lions at number 1 at plus 370. Chiefs-Eagles is number 2 at plus 500. Ravens-Lions is number 3 at plus 550. Bills-Lions is number 4 at plus 575. And then Ravens-Eagles rounds out the top 5 with plus 750. Erik, how do you feel about this? Do you think, as overall, odds aside, do you think the Bills are not featured enough in this, or is your takeaway another team? How do you feel about this graphic, seeing the Bills only featured once, and how heavily like Lions and maybe Chiefs it even though Chiefs and Ravens are equal with 2 each?
2 things. I like this. I like only being featured, the Bills being featured.
Bulletin board.
Only once. I love it. Throw it up on the bulletin board. Exactly. I love the Bills being underdogs this week at home against the Ravens. I want all of that. I want all those chips, all those guys.
They don't believe in you. They're doubting you.
All of it. Stack them all up. Throw them up on the board. Get those chips going. I love that. Secondly, it's funny. I live in the northeastern part of New York, and it's mainly a Giants and Patriots country, right? So right now, those teams are terrible. So now everyone has taken the Bills in all of their, Super Bowl squares type betting type things just like this. And they've become Bills fans because I will say, I think rooting for Josh and the Buffalo Bills is pretty easy because he's a fun, entertaining player, and they're a scrappy blue collar type team. And, everyone wants them to win the big game. And so there's a lot of Bills fans all of a sudden where I live. Yeah. And anytime, after a game, I come back, especially like after this weekend, they're like, man, it's the Bills year. And of course, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, don't tell me any of that.
But what they're saying in the end is they want to see the Bills make the Super Bowl, and they want to see them play the Detroit Lions. They want that rematch. I would love that. I would love that just because of how much firepower is there, the coordinators, the talent, all the great storylines of the rematch.
Yes,
that would be a cool matchup. And so, like I said, only seeing the Bills once here, I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, I'll take the bulletin board material and how McDermott's able to weaponize that. Speaking of stuff like that, did you see what Lane Johnson did for the Eagles?
He put up
the stats for like
the
him
stats from
versus Panay.
Sewell.
Yeah, because he got
Yeah.
second all team pro versus Panay. I was like, oh, I like they
Players do
posted
that.
in his locker. Yeah, they
Players
see
do
it.
it.
They hear it.
Yeah.
It's stuff that works. And yeah, I'm a favor of, I would rather the Bills not be on this list at all. Give me all the doubt and all the lack of belief in the world. And in an ideal world, yeah, with how tortured Lions fans are and the Bills fan base is, Bills Lions Super Bowl would just feel so nice. Like, obviously, we would want the Bills to win, but if they lose to the Lions, I don't hate the Lions. I don't hate Detroit. There's no, and from a schematic standpoint, we get to go down that rabbit hole again.
Yeah,
like,
please.
that was a fun prep and
Yeah.
post, work that we got to do here. So, I like a bunch of the Eagles players, but Philly fans are just so awful in a multitude of ways. And then I'm just completely out on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I have actually a soft spot for the Ravens because Ed Reed's my favorite player of all time. But all this Ravens Bills intensity, you and I were talking offline before we started.
I don't like it.
No,
I don't
super
like the vibe.
ugly.
I don't like the vibe. I didn't
No.
realize it was going to be this nasty.
Yes,
Came out of left field, and so yeah, I can't do it yet. I can't do
No.
it. Maybe later down the road, or a few years or something.
Yeah, with the whole Bills Ravens, and I feel like I'm walking down this like in the neighborhood, and I saw like an older woman. I was like, "Hi, good afternoon," and she punched me in the face. Like,
Or
that's
just
what I
like smash
feel
you with her purse out of nowhere, right?
I'm like, all I did was say good morning. Like, what the hell? Yeah, that's how I feel. Just smashed in the
Whoa,
face by
where'd
a
that come
purse.
from?
Yeah, what the hell just happened here? But yeah, interesting to see where people's minds are at when it comes to most likely Super Bowl matchups. Again, this graphic presented by our friends at BetUS. If you're looking for a new sports book this football season, BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, a 150% bonus on your first deposit, and then a 125% bonus on your next two deposits, up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. They have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process, 24/7 personalized service, 365 days a year, live wagering on all major games, the best betting variety in the business. They allow you to get 10% back on your net losses twice a year, and they also can give you your very own personal account manager. Shout out to BetUS for their sponsorship throughout the entirety of the season, this graphic. And any sportsbook needs, go out and check them out. Thank you very much to them for that graphic. Erik, let's pivot. Let's get into some conversation and then some film. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball. Where's your head at when it comes to the Bills' offensive performance coming out of this wild card game against Denver?
Yeah, we're going to show you the film. It's pretty self-explanatory. The Bills dominated up front, right? They dominated up front. Their offensive line took it to a front seven that we were showing a ton of respect for in the preview last week. And those guys didn't really, the Zach Allens, DJ Joneses, John Franklin Myers, those guys were pretty non-existent overall compared or relative to some other games this year. And so I thought that the Bills did a great job of scheming things up. There's no doubt, but they didn't do anything. Like, there weren't too many new wrinkles. It was, we're coming downhill at you and we're reestablishing the line of scrimmage in our favor, and we're going to hit you on the way down. Like, it was brutally honest type of game from the offensive line led by Aaron Cromer. I was impressed in all facets, run and pass game.
Yeah, I think, that's where the conversation starts for me. Pass pro, was solid, and we kind of know what that is from this offensive line group. But then, with the run game, they ran power a couple times, which was cool. But it started out and it was like, here's duo, here's some like mid/inside zone. We think we can move you off the ball. We're going to move you off the ball. And it was Alec Anderson's getting some movement. Dawson Knox is getting some movement, Gilliam, and then the starting five. I mean, from Spencer Brown had a very good game. Dawkins is doing his thing, but you're getting Edwards with some movement, Torrance with some movement, guys helping out on, 4-man rushes. And, I don't have anybody. I'm Osiris Torrance. Let me see where Jonathan Cooper is on Spencer Brown. Bang, let me put him down to the ground. Like, this was such a good performance from a good Bills O-line against I don't want Bills fans to come out of this and think, because the Broncos D-line probably wasn't that good. They are a good group, and the Bills, like you said, took it to them with physicality, with purpose, with identity. It got me very excited for what this offense could then do going against Baltimore, how much of a similar performance they'll need, but also just how playoff style-y that performance was on offense. Like, good run game, physical, mean up front, create displacement, rinse and repeat, protect your quarterback. like that's, I hate to say this, but like that's playoff football. And they came right out of the gate and showed it with confidence against a good defense and a good defensive line.
72 plays, 61% run, 44 attempts, 210 yards, 4.8 per rush, 2.7 yards before contact per rush. It was
crazy.
A dominating effort up front. And what we're going to show in the film in a few minutes is some of the, is what I called and coined Gilliam season. As they use Gilliam a bunch in this game, a lot of 21 personnel, 15% of the time. We'll dive into that. But real quick, we'll get our takeaways on defense. And what about the defense, man? It seemed like, there were a lot of things that we were worried about that we previewed last week. But I would say overall, I think the Bills did a good job of limiting, I would say Knicks got out of the pocket a few times, but that was kind of when the game was already, out of hand a little bit. I think that was mainly the only thing that they probably could have been better at overall.
Yeah. I thought Peyton did a good job early on, kind of creating some purposeful movement and moving the pocket, getting him out. And then Knicks did some things on some scrambles. But overall, I liked how they were able to mitigate several of the things that he does well, kind of make him uncomfortable a bit. But there was some stoutness against the run. There was one rep in particular against the run, Ed Oliver's hand on a double team, and Austin Johnson is stacking and shedding, minors. And I was like, where did this come from? Like Groot making a play early on against the run. I thought they were more stout against the run. There were some worrisome reps, especially for one particular member of the kind of second wave of defensive line who was getting displaced a bit. But overall, we saw Milano shooting a little bit. I thought they were more stout up front than I guess my worries kind of made me think they would potentially be. And I like some of the coverage pieces they did on the back end too. A lot of times against 3x1s, they were just locking that one side man on man with whoever the corner was, taking the running back out of the backfield and then playing quarters to the other side, changing up some coverages. They had a nice little 3-high spin that ended up being a completion for the Broncos. But so they tried a couple wrinkles, played some overall solid run defense, took advantage of an offense that was limited in some aspects, in some respects. And overall, again, kind of hard to nitpick too much with a defense that only allowed 7 points, and it was on the first drive, and they pitched a shutout from there out.
Yeah, and the Broncos offense had 42 plays, and as I said at the top, I felt like that heightened every play for that young quarterback and that offense. I thought, as we'll show in the film, that the defense, man, Bernard, I said the other day that going into the Ravens game, he is my key player because he is just on another level right now with setting up the defensive front, setting up coverages. Like he is in control. You heard today he did a speech in front of the whole team. He was prepared for that game against the Broncos. You could see it in his processing and getting to the ball, as we're going to show with some of the film. But the other big wrinkle, and it's nothing new, but the odd mirror stuff with the 3 down linemen and then the 2 linebackers, one of them being the aggressive spy, Milano. Again, we've seen this for years now. They have only busted out, I think it was 20 plays this year. 10 of them came in this game. We're going to show you some of that from this game, but we're also going to show you some odd mirror stuff with Milano as a spy from earlier in the year, because that is something that I'm sure we're going to see going forward, especially if we're playing Lamar Jackson on that, on that side of the ball. So with that said, Ant, I want to get into some of this film real quick. We're going to start on the defensive side of the ball right here. And again, this is early in the game where we talked about it last week and we showed you guys, how often the Broncos love to run that screen. They're in a 3-by-1 to the top of the screen. Well, here comes Mims. And you can see at the beginning of this play that Douglas is pointing out Mims. Hey, guys, look, there's Mims. And you see him in that position to motion and shift over. And what do you think they're running, man? They want to run the RPO off of it. So a lot of times they're going to just do a run right here or swing it out wide. And so on this play, look how prepared the Bills are. Bernard's already moving. He's like, I'm not letting Mims out leverage me. So but he gets pulled out of the box. But now that's a 5-man box. That's a 5-man box. But the Bills were prepared. You see Rousseau spike inside, and then Milano's going to scrape over the top, and they're able to blow up this run. You see the running back have to bubble out wide, and then Rousseau was able to chase him down And again, Milano would be there as well. So very good preparation. That shows you right off the bat that they were ready for either the swing screen to Mims or this wide run out to McLaughlin.
And this was the second play of the game. So you're kind of getting that opening script from Denver, getting into your stuff that works, kind of working in some priority things. This was a good job of scouting, knowing your opponent, obviously by the coaching staff and the players, and executing like this and taking away both options, getting a TFL, creating a negative play, setting yourself up successfully for third down. Yeah, there you go. Little surf technique on the back end from AJ Epinesa. Pay attention to that type of technique and that type of action. Maybe, I don't know, Erik might be dropping a video of that kind of technique and its relevance in this upcoming week against the Baltimore Ravens. So nice play up front. Again, 5-man box. And in theory, you got a hat on a hat, which means there's one more gap than there is bodies you have in the box. But because just don't run at Greg Rousseau. Wherever he is, run out to the opposite side.
Yeah.
Like he blows this up, and a good job from Milano flowing over the top, like you said, scraping. And also, you know, it was cool in the beginning of that, from that sideline angle, you saw everybody, like, look at the chain reaction of communication. Yep, Milano to Hamlin to Bernard to Taryn, and then Rapp to Benford.
Yep.
It's literally like this coordinated dance. Boom, they all bang, bang. Like, you can see that communication. That is film study. That's prep. That's everybody being on the same page. And we've seen it. Seeing it here, here's the starters. But we've seen this with the backups throughout the year. Like, they're just so well coached from a preparation standpoint, a communication standpoint. And again, going into one of our initial takeaways of how poised and prepared they were for this game.
Yeah, and that carries into this play. Watch Bernard here as he's setting the defense again. And you're right, Anthony. Look at all the communication. You see Bernard tapping the D line. Hey, shift over, shift the strength there. You see him communicating to the linebackers, and then once again, they're showing that.
You said it last week, like when Mims does it, like, here comes the screen.
Yeah, exactly. And Bernard, again, he's all over it. He's leveraging it, and then what's he do? He just shoots in between both of those receivers who are supposed to block him, and he makes a play on the ball. Again, they were prepared for, again, the screen game. It's something that we talked about. We did a whole video and segment on it last week, and they were ready for it. They took away the easy button plays for the Broncos offense. Yeah,
they took away the screen stuff. They limited, like, all the, we talked last week, one of your points in scouting the offense was all the running back check down stuff and things that Bo Nix likes to do. Like, they took that away in a multitude of ways. They took the screen game away. I love this play from Bernard. Watching this on tape, I literally was like, this is one that Erik will love. I was watching it like 1 a.m. last night. Well, technically this morning, and I knew you were asleep, but if it was regular hours, I would have texted you, but like, I know you love this play at this timestamp. It's everything we talk about him, like how smart and how heady. I love how he doesn't, like, he doesn't stop moving on this play from the time he's communicating, he's bumping over the D line, he's talking Milano, he's putting his mouthpiece in, the snap happens, and then the route to the ball.
Yeah.
If you needed to confirm with someone like, hey, did you kind of have an inkling of what was coming here? His route, like you said, like, he rounds it and then he goes between Lil Jordan Humphrey and Cortland Sutton right onto Mims. There is no missteps. There's no inefficiency in his loop. It is tight. It is concise. He knows everything. You move over, communication. There goes the motion. I know what's coming. Blow this thing up. Like, he is in there running this play before the receivers are even ready to block him. And he's pumped. Like, he knows it.
You see the emotion there.
That's that type of reaction where it's not just like a good play. That's where, like,
it's a payoff, right?
Yeah, because all that work that you put in, that prep, that film study, it played out exactly like you studied. Like, he put down in his tablet that he travels with everywhere. Like, that's, your preparation and your hard work paying off, and that matters a lot. And we see this a ton for him with how much he studies.
Yeah, he's going to be a huge piece going forward, obviously, this week as well. And here's a play by him as well. Sorry, guys. I love watching linebackers. Once again, you see him before the snap. Watch the motion and action by the Broncos and how Bernard reacts to it. You see him right here. They're pulling that wide receiver across. He's calling the play out. They're going to be running downhill right at us. And look at him right here. And props to Oliver. To Oliver right here, taking on this combination block right there. And Bernard comes down a little bit. And again, you got to remember, this is a combination block. So one of these guys has to climb to Bernard. And because Bernard hugged like the inside shoulder of Oliver there, it's this guy who releases, but obviously the run's going this way. and Bernard is able to work around Oliver and those offensive linemen to make the tackle on the running back.
Yeah, this one, we've talked about it, whether I think it was in last week's episode, might have been the week before, purposeful gap exchanges or ones that just kind of happen as the play develops and you see Bernard jump down, read what's happening in front. Okay, there's Oliver, there's the block. Let me shoot into the hole, bang, make the play. And his ability to process and see these. Yeah, I'll say, as Dennis says in the comments here, Terrell Bernard is a cheat code. That's what he feels like at times here. And these are the kind of plays, I'm not making this comparison. I don't want anybody to jump down my throat, but like, this is what you would see when Roquan Smith was clicking. This is what you would see when Fred Warner is clicking. Like that ability to fit, read, and react quickly. And then, yes, I love that you highlighted Taron Johnson. The fit from Taron Johnson, taking on the fullback. He
the
helps
fullback. Look at him come downhill. Doesn't even think twice.
No. I mean, I feel I didn't show it because he got hurt on it, but even the way he folds on that play where he bangs his head against Williams, like he just comes forward with no fear, with regularity. He's taking on pullers of any size, and him against a true fullback comes forward, does his fit, allows Bernard to help succeed, and we need to continue to see that against a team like Baltimore, who is all about trying to add, remove gaps, manipulate you, shift you, create leverage. They're going to have to be on point again.
Yeah, so we wanted to show a few of those clips of how prepared Bernard and this defense were. And obviously the Bills understood that Knox was a mobile quarterback, and, they did a great job of taking away a lot of his first reads, a lot of those easy button plays. They also had to have an answer on third downs when there was a possibility for him to run the ball. And so they went to this odd mirror package. And it's a package where the three defensive linemen are able to just pin their ears back and rush the quarterback. Don't have to worry about rush lane integrity, right? And a quarterback escaping because they have Milano as that spy. The Bills ran this spy odd mirror package 10 times in this game. The Broncos averaged 2.5 yards per play, and they had 7 0 or negative plays in this game. So 7 plays of 0 or negative yards in this game when the Bills were in this odd mirror package, Anthony.
Love this. The first time we chronicled it, I think with Ted Wynn after the Bills' regular season victory against the Chiefs a couple years ago. And they pulled it out sporadically here and there, mostly against the Chiefs. We saw some of it briefly against the Bengals in the divisional round a couple years ago. I love this. Kirby Smart in Georgia kind of put it on the map a little bit, but just I think it really kind of maximizes that ability to slow a mobile QB. And there's so many ways it can work. As Erik has Milano highlighted there. So right now you've kind of still got like a 4 down front, but you're only rushing 3. And Milano is that spy, also can kind of be a bit of a low hole player. So he's sitting there kind of in a window, can affect things a little bit. And then all you're looking for is that quarterback to get off the spot. Just someone break him from that spot, force him out, make him leave. And as soon as he does, Milano is triggering. We get Rousseau in his track highlight there, pressures a little bit. So Nick says, okay, Bowles is getting knocked into the backfield. Let me evade. And as soon as he does, Milano triggers. And then with the way that works with Von Miller, it's almost like you get a little bit like of a spiker looper type of action. There's all these techniques and pieces that funnel into this idea and this concept, but it helps. As you said, defensive linemen can just pin their ears back. You don't have to worry about, okay, maintain my rush lane integrity, keep my eyes. It's just sell out, do whatever you can to break the pocket, force the QB out, and know that that spy is going to be there behind you. Milano excels at this role. It was really nice to see him close down on Knox, considering how athletic and quick that he is. Nice to see him again. Another example, him kind of rounding into form a little bit and making a play on this. And
so Milano is obviously on the line of scrimmage here. So it's almost as if they're showing 4 rushers, but you can see Bernard is stacked behind them because the Bills are in 2-man. And so Charles G is saying green dog ? No, it's not a green dog because Bernard has the running back here as he leaks out. Milano is a straight spy here. He's a straight spy. He's going to drop out and keep his eyes on that quarterback. And wherever that quarterback flushes to, he goes and gets him like he does on this play, which is why he is able to shut down Knox here. And I think he technically registered a sack on this play too, right? This was technically a sack.
Yeah, it's a loss, which is nice. I love when they'll mix the odd mirror piece, which is referencing to the front. They'll mix that with some coverages on the back end. I love when they put it with 2-man. When you can constrict that airspace, make all the windows tight. I think it pairs well with, from a marriage of coverage and pass rush standpoint, it pairs well.
It's ideal with man coverage, no doubt.
Exactly. Yeah. If you can get that quarterback off the spot quickly, he doesn't have an answer. This is something, that would be nice if they deployed this a bit against Baltimore this upcoming weekend, provided you can get them in kind of these known passing situations, down in distances, true drop back aspects, which is a lot easier said than done.
And that's the key, as is the whole discussion of 3 linebackers and personnel groupings. They will employ this in obvious pass situations, usually 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 or longer. And so here's one from just inside the 30-yard line, another 3 defensive linemen look. You have 2 linebackers. Milano's on the line of scrimmage again, and you see him. And as Miller flushes the quarterback outside the pocket, there is Milano to force the throw. There's no way that Knox is going to get outside the pocket here. And so when he's making this throw on the run under duress, he's not able to hit the wide receiver that turns upfield. So once again, pressure from one of the 3 pass rushers up front. This spin move is sick.
So clean.
I'm a Glinchy. Very nice spin move by Miller off the right-hand side of the screen. Flushes Knox out, and guess who's waiting? Mr. Milano to, again, create duress here and outside of structure here. And Knox is not able to nail that throw down, which we talked about. How good of a passer he is outside of the pocket. He did not have all that good of a day when we're talking those type of plays.
Yeah, I feel like if he's watching back this tape, he's kicking himself for several of these throws that he missed, rolling to his right on the run and just not being able to lock this down. I mean, even here, like the
mechanics aren't like what we showed you last week. No. He's not able to, come downhill. He's not able to get those hips down because of that pressure from Milano.
Yeah, his body mechanics are all out of whack. Like he's trying to get everything he can into his arm, but he's got no momentum and leverage going forward with it. Like, look how he throws it, but his body is still carrying him away from the throw, which is why he ducks it a little bit and it gets dirted and it doesn't reach his man. And again, that's all because of that odd mirror piece. Great rush by Vaughn in conjunction with Milano. And then if you folks notice this time, no man coverage on the back end. We get that zone coverage presentation. You can combine this with a multitude of coverages, get more of a quarters look from the Bills on the back end here. You can pair it with, again, zone, man, depending on where you kind of go. So this is a good example, again, to kind of juxtapose those 2 things with how they deploy it. The whole odd mirror thing refers to those 3 down with that spy up front.
Right, and here's another one from later in the game. This is the sack by Greg Rousseau, who's rushing from his right defensive end spot. And this is one of those coverage sacks. You talked earlier about pairing it with man coverage, the odd mirror spy with man coverage. This is a coverage sack through and through. You can see there's no one open in this route tree. And so Groot was able to work through the double team and bring the quarterback down. But this is important. Yes, the coverage was there, but watch Milano. Once again, he's essentially containing the quarterback to the pocket. Knox wants to leave the pocket right here, but then here comes Milano. Knox is like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to have to, reload and try to throw it. And I think he's probably going to go right here, but I don't think that's going to get completed over the top of Johnson with a safety over the top. So either way, he pulls it down, and this is when Groot is able to disengage and bring him down for the sack.
Yeah, credit to Groot for continuing to work, fighting through multiple blockers en route to the sack. Yep. Bro, yeah, Bowles and Powers right there on this one. But this really is, like you said, due to coverage on the back end and then Milano on the front. Like Groot is the beneficiary in the stack column. But this is just such a nice, kind of coordinated dance between the front and the back end. No airspace. You can see all these guys coming into Bo Nix's field of vision on this end zone angle. There is no one open. I thought the Bills had a lot of success in this game when they went man, whether it was man across the board or when they locked that single receiver side with the running back and 3x1s. They did a good job for the most part. Benford got beat on one against Sutton, I believe, and a couple others that had some chances of success, but that package worked well. The man coverage worked out well. And I wonder what we're showing here, maybe against Kansas City earlier in the year, and how the Bills, we talked about it when it happened. This was such a good usage of Dorian Williams to allow him just go be athletic, go be long and strong and do that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's it. You're allowing those 3 rushers to hunt, and you're allowing athletes to be athletes. Dorian here, he has gotten beat a couple times on it this year too. Especially week 1 by Kyler Murray. But you're seeing Groot here just turn the corner and create that disruption with Miller. I think finishing the sack here with Ed Oliver, just allowing your defense to hunt the quarterback. You know, it's always been the Bills' MO when they're rushing for is, hey, you gotta, you know, rush to the quarterback, but you gotta maintain your pass rush, you know, lane integrity. That's thrown out the door when you're rushing these three with that spy, because much like having a safety over the top and 2-man, you're able to be aggressive as a pass rusher and not have to, you know, worry about the quarterback scooting out because you have the spy.
Yeah, because if you do something wrong, you have somebody behind you literally there to correct for that and make you right. And when you've got, especially a quarterback like Mahomes, who is, I don't want to even say deceptively mobile, even though he like kind of is, but everybody knows how deadly he is on the run. Also, his scramble EPA per attempt this year is 0.85, which is first and just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
but it
he's
allows,
good at it.
yeah, right. It allows these guys, and you have the tracks highlighted there for Groot and Vaughn. Just take whatever path works. You want to go through somebody, cool. Inside move, cool. Go around the corner and turn the edge, cool. And this time we get a nice little, almost like a little high-low. You get Groot coming around and running the arc from the left. You've got Vaughn popping back inside against Jawan Taylor. They both kind of constrict that space, and Oliver fights his way through. So you don't even need the mirror. You don't even need the spy, because the 3-man rush did its job, which is also another point too. Maybe somebody does their job and wins clean. 2 guys win, 3 guys win. Yes, highlight Tooney. Look at Tooney. He's out there accounting for Dorian Williams. So it's not even 3-on-5. Essentially, it's 3-on-4. 2 of those are obviously 1-on-1s, and the guys with their 1-on-1s each kind of win in a way and play together to wrap up Mahomes.
Yeah, and we saw it several times in this game. Here's another one. This time, Dorian is a spy once again. Pretty good blocking here by the offensive line, but there's a little pressure off to Mahomes' left, so he gets outside the pocket, and then here comes a missile and Dorian Williams. But then you also got Bernard on the back end to create that interception. Very good complementary type rush, spy, and coverage on the back end at the end of this game against the Chiefs.
I knew this one would make the cut because it's odd mirror, but also it's a Bernard interception. I knew this would.
I didn't consciously do it. That was subconscious. All right, I swear.
Yeah. I was waiting for this one. Yeah, great play from Bernard. But again, yeah, and another example of, again, the types of coverages you can play behind this. And you see Dorian sitting deeper a little bit. This is towards the end of the game, so you're trying to still keep everything in front of you a little bit, but you watch him engage, back up, and he's just sitting there. This is 4th down. He's sitting at the sticks and just literally like a dog watching the mailman. His eyes are just on Mahomes. And as soon as Mahomes moves, he can move right. He can move left. As soon as the quarterback declares, that spy is out the door. Look at Dorian just bouncing, bang. He's out. And he's going like a heat-seeking missile, and it forces Mahomes into a bit of an errant throw, and Bernard is there to kind of make that play. And it just from a football standpoint too, man, if they're doing this against Lamar potentially, and then it's, you know, who's tracking Lamar in space? Can they get him down? I always think back to when Lamar shook the hell out of Milano like 4 or 5 years ago or whatever in that regular season game. Like, he's such a tricky guy to track and get down, and such a different athlete, but this is something that could work. It's such a fun schematic kind of chess piece element if they uncork it against Baltimore, and which also could have some favorable effects given, I know the pressure numbers aren't bad for Baltimore, but they have struggled a bit in pass protection at times with Rosengarten at right tackle and just how what their makeup is on the offensive line. Maybe, you know, having Groot and Vaughn and even Ed being able to rush with reckless abandon maybe plays into their hands even more so against an offensive line that maybe might have some protection issues potentially.
Yeah, at that first level, having those 3 rushers, guys like Rousseau, Von Miller, Ed Oliver, just, you know, pin their ears back. It's going to help them because they can use, you know, Groot's more of a power guy, but guys like Ed Oliver, he can use his acceleration, his burst, his quickness. You know, Von Miller, he's still got some juice too, and some agility to, you know, change directions, use some of those, you know, hand type moves to win. And so getting some of those bigger offensive linemen into space a little more and allowing your, you know, speedier guys with a little more agility to challenge that offensive line. I think that's the first level. But yeah, there's going to be times where the spy doesn't work. It's Lamar Jackson. But again, it's better to have that 3 guys rushing in those 3rd and 7 and longs, you know, just pinning their ears back and attacking rather than 4 guys contain rushing, which they're going to do with that too.
Yeah.
They're going to, you have to switch it up,
Yeah.
but you're going to see that too. But in these 3rd and long plays, you don't want to just let him pick apart a 4-man rush. When you want to have someone having a secondary pressure. You have that first wave, then you have the second wave from the spy. Is he going to beat the spy sometimes? Yes. The spies lose sometimes too. But I think it's having to work through different layers.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do to contain Lamar. You're not going to stop him completely, but you got to be able to contain him. So that's why we took a bunch of those plays from the entire year. When we're talking odd mirror, when we're talking the spy, because I would be shocked if they don't use it this week. They used it for Bo Nix. Like, come on, they're going to use it. I mean, they're going to use it for Lamar Jackson. And the question I got on social was like, because they saw it. One of the 10 plays of odd mirror was like in the red zone, and it was the 4th down play where Cam Lewis made a play on the edge, and people saw Milano on the line of scrimmage thinking that this is some new package. No, it was still odd mirror. It just, they got caught in a quick pass, and, obviously was thrown out there. It wasn't some new thing they're going to try to bust out versus Lamar. It's not a new package. It was just given the situation of, the Broncos still trying to make a comeback and a passing situation for, the better part of that 4th quarter. You saw it a bunch.
Yeah. I had some people kind of label it as like, oh, what do you think of Bobby Babbitt's like new odd mirror package? And I was like, no, like it's cool that like it made that notice, or people like made that notice and attributed to him. But yeah, this is something they've been doing for a couple of years, and it'll be interesting to see how they wield it. Because to your point, you got to switch it up against Lamar. Even if you're using odd mirror, you can't go man all the time. What coverages are you playing behind it? How do you layer in other rushes and contain pieces? Because we've seen Lamar, he can beat you as a runner by design. But if we're talking just as like a passer, he can beat you from a scramble. He can scramble within the pocket and still beat you from the pocket. He can beat you as a straight up pocket passer with touch and anticipation. Like, there are so many ways to die against Lamar Jackson that you have to vary up your approach. It's not, man, they just spammed this one thing. You have to vary it. And exactly to your point, I would literally be shocked if this did not make the cut in some way. Literally, it at the very least, like one time, which we should see, but I would expect it to be kind of woven in a bit. If they can get into those down and distances, if Baltimore stays in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and like these 3rd and shorts and more kind of guess what we're going to do type of deal, it changes things a little bit. So it's even more important that the Bills can win on 1st and 2nd down to then have the option to potentially sprinkle these pieces in.
Yeah, and finally, we'll see some of those odd mirror packages when Milano's a spy, but don't be shocked also if the Bills don't drop 8 in the coverage a little bit too, because it's something the Bengals did against him a little bit, and I know they got at least one turnover. It's something that Lou used to do a lot versus Lamar. Again, they're gonna have to throw everything, right? They're gonna have to do everything, and so I'm not gonna be shocked once we sit down after this game to watch a film and realize that the Bills and Bobby Babbage and Sean McDermott threw the kitchen sink at Lamar. They're going to leave it all out there. They're going to uncork everything. And so William Swan adds, we are so blessed to have you guys. Ian Ant always talked me off of a bridge. Being a Bills fan in Baltimore is not for the weak. God bless you this week.
Yeah, God bless you, dude. Good luck.
God bless you. Well, man, that's got to be rough.
There were people last week who were like, man, like Bills fan in Denver this week is tough. I cannot imagine being a Bills fan in Baltimore. Like
Baltimore.
No, I feel like every episode probably feels like, or every week probably feels like you're in an episode of The Wire.
Yeah.
Good luck. Godspeed, William. But thank you for the kind words.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Yeah, it's. I really hope they uncork everything. Give me every type of like last minute switch and disguise. Give me 3 high looks. Give me spins to different versions of Tampa and everything. I want Taron Johnson dropping as like a deep half player and whoever, like just throw it all out there. Leave nothing in the chamber and in the clip. I think it's not even just for fun's sake. Right. Like with how this Ravens offense is a buzzsaw, you need to counter that buzzsaw, kind of like fight fire with fire and be a buzzsaw yourself. And kind of the Ravens defense needs to do the same thing against the Bills, which is what makes this game such a fun game to watch this upcoming Sunday. But let's continue to put a nice bow on this game. Erik, let us pivot to the offensive side of the ball, something we touched on earlier a bit, highlighting Aaron Kromer, this offensive line, which honestly we could just do Kromer and the offensive line every single week. It feels like for almost every single Bills game with the year that they've had. And this past week, I should say, against the Denver Broncos. Again, a good group up front, a good group overall. they had their success once again. And it really was kind of that linchpin and key that set this offense up for success.
And we're going to start off with a few clips from Cook and obviously running behind the Bills offensive line. But I do think Cook is a major factor this week against the Ravens. I thought in their last matchup in week 4, they did get him going a little bit and the run game going, but because of the game script had to come out of it. And so I do think Cook is a pretty big factor going forward. We got to stop the show here, Ant.
We do. Oh, this is very good. Carl, appreciate the hell out of you. Thank you for being here. He was in disguise coverage last night, threw me a super chat as well. We appreciate you very much, Carl. And Carl says, here, guys, maybe this, referencing the super chat, maybe this will help you keep the lights on for the next month. I'm ready to watch the film room on February 12th, documenting our victory, exclamation point. There's nothing I would really like more than to have a Super Bowl film room and document it. That might be, I mean, I don't know. We might do a film room every single day for the entirety of the week to fully document that. But that's awesome, Carl. Thank you very much for being here and for the super chat and the kind words. And yeah, fingers crossed. Here's to hoping.
And so we'll get back into film here. And this is James Cook running duo. Bills obviously love running duo with Cromer. And you can see how this is a play I didn't think that was going to be there for them. And because we saw that play when you last week when you did the Surtain breakdown of him coming from depth to the blow up duo. I was like, okay, don't even run that. But they ran it to the field to Riley Moss's side. I really like what Dawson Knox does here. Did a breakdown on him for our insiders on YouTube, and he's able to help seal the edge there. And there's that quickness and speed by Cook. Riley Moss wasn't ready for that smoke when it came to James Cook in this game.
No, and I think that's, not even to just kind of give him an out. Like Riley Moss is like a sound corner overall. You have to be coming from Iowa, and he's been good against the run, but you can see he comes upfield and his angle is erased in an instant. With duo, you're going to get some unblocked defender. Usually it's that nickel or it's that corner, and it's an outside corner here. Cook bounces it immediately. And yeah, look at how gummed up everything is inside. You've got Barton, 55. You've got Brandon Jones, 22. You've got McMillan, 29. Everything is gross and muddy on the inside. Maybe Cook could slam it up inside and you get a couple. He bounces it. He sees daylight. And why not? You're running to the wide side of the field. Ball is on the left hash. He gets horizontal, beats him to the corner. And if PJ Locke isn't over the top, like Cook, I feel like tries to press it further upfield and maybe houses it because he's got Moss beat. The juice that he's added out of the backfield, it's something for so long with Allen in this offense. It was backs more like, no disrespect, like Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, who were, able to get it done in their own ways, but they didn't have that burst and that home run juice. And we see it, even if it's just these smaller gains and these smaller chunks, his speed makes such a difference. And we've seen him do this on duo a ton.
I love how he is. Okay. So he's running his duo track. He's coming downhill, but then right there, you see him kind of manipulate his stride a little bit, and he's just showing a little patience,
changes his gait.
Waiting for those blocks to, kind of develop. These guys that get sucked in, he knows he's bouncing already. He knows he's bouncing, and when he does, he has that cornering speed. It's something we don't really talk about when we're talking running backs, that ability to turn the corner and to accelerate through the corner and through that turn. And he does it so well, and it's something that, he's really excelled at when we're talking these duo runs. I'm
sorry, real quick. You know what he does? You made me think of it the way he accelerates too. It's like when, or at least for me, and I think this is taught to everybody, like when you drive, like you accelerate through the apex of the turn. That's what he does. Like, and it's uncanny how well it helps him. He's got such a good feel and sense for it, and how it ties into his footwork. It's so pretty. He's able to do this just almost effortlessly. It doesn't look like he's given everything, and he's just out there running past dudes left and right.
All right, and here's a situation with the Bills backed up. They're running duo again, and this block by Dawson Knox on Benito, he just washes Benito down the line of scrimmage. That allows Cook to then bounce it outside, but then he quickly gets back inside the block of Mac Hollins right here. You see him bounce it here and then get right up inside here to get into that second level. Just very good vision, footwork, and acceleration by Cook on this duo run.
Yeah, same. Not too much to add here. It's the footwork and the vision and how well it pairs together. He takes that duo track, sees the play side linebacker, decides to bounce. Then he sees 21, Riley Moss, come up and takes a pretty good angle fitting from the outside. So right now he's, okay, this is muddy in the middle. Let me bounce. There's the defender. My angle's done. I got a hat on a hat versus PJ Locke. Here comes the alley developing. There's Alec Anderson doing his job, and bang, just puts that left foot in the ground, gets north and south. And it's that ability to just get vertical. He can go from changing his gait and changing his footwork and updating his track as he's reading, and in quick, kind of like quicker than a hiccup type of deal, he gets north and south and makes it through. This one was really pretty. His vision has been so strong on these runs.
And then, his finish, it's something that he's definitely improved on. This is definitely what he's added to his game. Very good vision here, very good cut against the grain, going kind of against really where duo is typically going to run. But you see him read these blocks. This lock comes in here, and you just see him go, all right, I'll just cut across the face here. And there's contact made before he hits the goal line, and he takes that dude for a ride to get the 6 points.
Yeah, this time, you're low red zone, heavy numbers in the box for the Denver Broncos. So this time in the box, you've got that unblocked safety, PJ Locke, number 6. And exactly to your point, like we've talked about it a couple times in the film room. I don't know if it was going to happen already this year, or if he saw Ray Davis run through some dudes a couple times and he was like, okay, I need to have some type of physicality with my finish. And another just variation of how he can change duo. He's going front side, reads the front side, cuts all the way. I can maybe count on my hands how many times I've seen someone go against the grain to this degree or at all on duo. And granted, Spencer Brown gets a piece of Barton 55 there, but Cook goes through Barton's shoulder, carries him, and then, look at all those blocks on the quote-unquote backside. Torrance washing his man down. Look at what McGovern is doing to Zach Allen, taking him completely out of the play. Like, that's why that alley develops, and Cook sees the daylight, goes through Barton's shoulder, carries him for several yards horizontally and vertically, and then finishes through. Really nice job from Cook.
So there's a few plays of duo ending in a touchdown. Here's some mid-zone weak. And again, that vision and his ability to cut back all the way and bend it all the way back here to get, again, north and south. Once again, look at the movement on the backside of this run. You see Torrance, Spencer Brown, Knox is kicking out and holding off the edge player. And then Shakir is inserting on the linebacker. And just that initial cut, man, to get north and south was just silly.
Yeah, this is going back kind of the early days of this season, some sort of 3-by-1. Let's motion Matt Collins across the formation, mid-zone weak, and then go from there. Shout out to Shakir on this one, too. He doesn't sustain the block on Barton, but for him to insert, gets a piece of him a little bit. I wish he sustained it because that would have made such a great highlight. But again, another example of just the movement they're creating, and you get the defense flowing that way. Yes, let's highlight those interior defenders
Jones,
there.
Allen. Look at the movement. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, against guys who are stout and good, and Torrance is just like, okay, let me pop you that way. And look at Brown on Allen. Another, like, just wash you down, a little bit of push and physicality to add some emphasis to it. Knox is sealing the backside. Like, this is pretty. It's that initial, it's one thing to get the movement from the defense when you start initially, and then the running back gets to choose their own adventure with where they go. But to have the physicality to seal guys or move them further and move them out is what we're seeing with this offensive line. That's real pretty, just leaning on dudes over and over.
And I'm glad you said leaning on dudes, because you look at it, this mid-zone weak run from this angle, watch Alec Anderson on Zach Allen on this play. Look at that displacement. Actually, that's John Franklin Myers, isn't it? That is Myers.
Yeah.
But look at that movement, Brown and Anderson. You think that's reestablishing the line of scrimmage in the favor of the Bills? I mean, this is too easy for Cook. As soon as he gets the ball, he's already making his cutback. He's like, oh, look at this chasm. Let me go hit that. Let me get north and south and get into that third level. And then let me get more yards after contact. Like, that movement by the right side here, Spencer Brown, Anderson on the backside of this zone run. I mean, that is just pretty work. And you see Cook hug those blocks for a big run.
Yeah, this is just, you don't even need vision. Like, you can see this a mile away if you're the running back, that type of movement. And it's, again, part of the benefit you've got for Alec Anderson. You've got another big body, and they're leaning on guys. Again, another mid-zone week. So you see the defense react. And then we get the down block and the wash from Torrance. We get the combo from Brown and Anderson. And then Brown coming off of the double to take the outside man, like them adjusting, feeling that. And now Brown is kind of getting in his way a little bit, and it lets Cook get upfield a bit. Just again, physical, mean, nasty on these zone runs, in addition to some of the gap scheme stuff.
All right. And speaking of gap, on power runs.
Yes,
I said it's Gilliam season. 21 personnel, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 15% of time in this game, 14 plays, 96 yards, 6.9 yards per play. Their run success was 75%. Their throw PA out of this personnel was 0.53. Their run EPA was 0.16. It was phenomenal. And on this play with the Bills and I in a twin set, watch the movement on Zach Allen, Deion Dawkins, and Edwards just moving Allen off the line of scrimmage. And you see Gilliam kick out the edge guy. Cook gets up inside, puts his helmet down and pads down, and then is getting yards after contact here from a little help from his friends. But that really set the tone early in this game. Going 21 personnel, Gilliam season, but again, clearing out some of the better defensive linemen in the league that are on the Broncos and just reestablishing that line of scrimmage in favor of the Bills.
Love the rugby rolling maul that we get here to carry James Cook downfield. And then, just the action at the point of attack here. Dawkins and Edwards, look at Allen just get turned essentially horizontal and gets turned towards the sideline, knocked off his track, gets turned around. He has to kind of pirouette and spin and turn back and find the ball. They take care of him. I also love how this kind of plays off of Benito, always wanting to get upfield, being that quick, juice, bursty edge guy. He gets upfield. Gilliam shoots out of his stance, and all he has to do is impede him a little bit, turn and seal. And then we get Torrance, not the most nimble, not the most fleet of foot, but he had a couple reps in this game showing some of that movement, doing what he can, and then Cook slithering through the hole there in the little crease and just continuing to move his foot, carry downfield. I knew it was real in this game when they ran power and then they ran it again here. It was like, okay, they are, and we talked about it last week, right? We talked about running some gap schemes against the Broncos and how power has worked, but power isn't a staple of this offense. And here we go with them already running it twice here.
Right. And this time the Broncos actually have a run blitz call. You're going to see them spike guys and bring this guy around because they knew this run was coming. And so they had a counter for the Bills. And guess what? Boom, Gilliam lights up that linebacker. You see the pull by Edwards, good enough for me. And you're getting that speed on a gap run up inside by Cook and into that third level. Very good work on this power run by the Bills.
What's nice with the speed of Cook, and you see it here, I mean, granted, part of it is because of how the run blitz factors out and how the hole develops for him, and he sees it, changes, little skip step there, bang, puts his foot in the ground and gets through it. But his speed allows them to, his blockers, to not necessarily have to sustain these blocks for long. It's just like, hey, hit this guy, impede him for a beat, and I'm gone. And you highlighted Edwards, his arm, his hand, just get,
hand, right?
Yes, get that outside hand, latch him a little bit, just prevent Barton from getting that outside arm free and impeding Cook in any way. Edwards does enough and does enough without drawing a hold, which allows Cook to get through. Matt Collins is trying to do his job, and we get a big chunk gain on this power run.
And you could see, again, that cornering by Cook. Looks like it's going to bounce out here, but then he's able to corner it back to the middle of the field right there. Like, he's still gaining speed when he does that. That is what's so cool about Cook's ability. He's gaining speed by making that turn right there. It's amazing. He's able to get in to the low red zone here. So 21 personnel, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. Same thing here. This play late in the game when the Broncos went to cover 0. Look who's at the bottom of the screen. That's Gilliam. Ty Johnson is split out wide behind Matt Collins.
Wide receiver 1, Reggie Gilliam.
Yeah, right. and again, later in the game, so the Broncos are trying to pressure to play a little cover 0. The weakness of cover 0 is the middle of the field, but it makes you wonder, are they calling this cover 0 blitz because they're expecting run because of this personnel grouping? But now the Bills are essentially an empty, and they're able to hit Matt Collins versus Patrick Surtain over the middle for nearly a touchdown. This is just really good, personnel grouping usage by Joe Brady and that offense. And again, a nice throw here versus cover 0.
It's funny when you were like, and the weakness of cover 0 is, and then you were like, middle of the field. In my head, you were like, the weakness of cover 0 is, and I was like, Josh Allen. Like, that's where we're at.
The kryptonite is Josh Allen.
That's where we're at this point. That's such a good call out by you, though, because if you're seeing this from, the booth, or the box or whatever, you're relaying, the coaching staff, they're relaying that personnel grouping. And so they're calling out 21. And so you're going to build a call based off of, down and distance tendency, all that, but also the personnel grouping. So you're seeing you're seeing in the huddle, here comes 21. They've been running it down our throat a bit and what it's been looking like. So maybe you're anticipating that. So here comes the call to match. And instead they go spread, basically a little bit of condensed piece of it. And we get a 3-by-2 essentially with that offset Ty Johnson. And just playing with that personnel grouping, varying a little bit. And the true wide receiver one here, Mac Hollins beating, it's your day when, no disrespect, when Mac Hollins is beating Pat Surtain, like that is your day. And again, but personnel kind of dictating a little bit or playing some games, maybe leading to a call, and the Bills taking advantage of that kind of tendency breaker gamesmanship type of deal.
Yeah, again, run personnel, Dawson Knox, Keon Coleman, Mac Hollins, Reggie Gilliam, Ty Johnson.
Your blockers.
These are all blockers. And again, that play's coming in. 21 personnel with those guys, this is going to be a run and ends up being empty set and a pass. And talking about Mac Hollins, we actually had seats right behind his family. It was his father, I believe his mother, I don't know if it's his sister or wife, and then his brother. His brother actually was hyping everyone up. He was actually a really smart football guy. Got to chat with him a little bit. But yeah, it was really nice family they sat in front of us. And
were they wearing shoes? Were they also barefoot in support, or
and the funny thing about that is they were wearing sneakers, but Aaron Quinn goes up to his brother and says, you know what, for Mac Hollins never wearing shoes, he's actually got a really good shoe game. And he did say that to him, which was, kind of got a laugh out of everyone. So Joe Brady was in his bag, man. It was nice to see them, use personnel to kind of get things going on, when we're talking running the ball, but also, throwing the ball too. And here's a play action pass to Dawson Knox. I thought Dawson Knox really has stood out over the last few games, especially if you're, comparing him to Dalton Kincaid. I think he adds a different element than what Kincaid does, obviously. And I think Dawson's, versatility in the run and pass game, whether it's run blocking, in creating separation, but more importantly, how he creates separation down the field has really stood out for him on this play. Again, they're running play action 2-by-2 set. And right at the top of that route that, you see the Barton, the linebacker, trying to, body him up. You see him create some separation there, break to the corner, and then Josh hits him for the big play down the field.
Yeah, he just completely loses Barton. And this is the difference in that skill set a little bit. I don't want to say that Dalton Kincaid can't do that, but Knox, the more physical, willing to initiate some contact or play through it a little bit more than Kincaid, who is more of that fluidity and that technicality mixed in, just welcomes it, loses Barton completely as he hits the corner route.
Yeah.
And there's Josh Allen stepping up. Eyes are locked on to Knox as he steps up. Got the look at also like the footwork, where the ball is.
It's old Peyton Manning drill, bro.
Where
they have the bags on the ground, and then they have to scoot through the bags and keep their hand, eyes down the field, hands on the ball. This old Peyton Manning drill, it was to a T. I mean, we keep highlighting it, Anthony. Yep. It's true. The mechanics are really tight right now for Josh Allen late in the year.
100%. That's you took the words right out of my mouth. Him and Eli, actually, he made Eli do that drill on one of the Monday Night Football episodes.
Oh, is that right? I missed that.
He made him do it, and Eli hit the bag a couple times, and Peyton just roasted him because he could get that. Eli looked down, and he was like, "Eyes up, Eli, eyes up." This is fundamental, bag work, drill work that you do before you get into team. And watching him again, we continue to say it, like you said. But watching his mechanics still stay true at this point in the season is a testament to him, the work that he put in this offseason, and him being able to continue and maintain it. We continue to see it pay dividends. Good ball placement right on the numbers to Knox, which is usually one that he'll drop, and then he'll make some ridiculous one-handed jumping spectacular catch. I also like that concept too. The corner paired with that dig, and then against man coverage there, I thought it was a nice concept, and then individually with Knox's execution as well.
All right, here's another pass to Knox, and at the top of this one, he, creates some separation, a little push off at the top. But unless it's called, I don't want to hear any complaining. But I just like what he's bringing right now, because this is playoff football, and
yes,
for many years, the Bills have had those undersized Smurf type receivers, and you get bodied up in the playoffs by these teams, the Chiefs. And now you have a guy like Knox that you're seeing some of that come out. They're going to have it with Coleman, who I could have an inkling may have a pretty big game this week against the Ravens because of that ability to create separation with his body and playing above the rim. I think Knox adds a little of that from the tight end position, as you see here at the top of this route, as he curls it up on the sit route. A little push off right there on PJ Locke, man. You gotta bring your muscle to the game when you play against Knox.
If the Bills get Keon Coleman on Brandon Stevens against Baltimore, I will throw that route every single day of the week.
Yep,
I don't care what anything else is. I will stay away from everyone else. Coleman versus Stevens, even Mac Hollins against Stevens, but Coleman against Stevens every single day of the week.
Yep.
And yeah, this is nice from Knox. Subtle, or maybe not so much push off there against PJ Locke. But again, another example of him creating separation, how he does it. And to talk about, again, what you mentioned in the setup to the play before, he and Kincaid, how they operate differently, how they can be used differently. But we're seeing Knox for, as much as Kincaid has been the guy, Knox is kind of coming into his own and being in this role of this good blocker against a multitude of body types and skill sets and trait guys at a multitude of alignments, but then finding other ways to get open aside from just being athletic, him playing into that size and athleticism combo a little bit. And it's something that benefited them in this game.
Yeah, and here's a play that, everyone's just going to remember for the throw to Shakir, where Shakir is able to pick up the first down after some really nice moves and contact balance. But again, this is Kincaid. It's pretty much the same concept. Just this time it's against zone. But watch the physicality by Kincaid here. He's essentially setting a little pick right here so that the shallow cross can come over the field, over the middle, and that kind of clear up Shakir. So nice little setup there that you don't really see or hear it talked about a lot. But you can see Kincaid doing a little something to help Shakir get open on this play.
Yeah, a little bit of physicality there. You can see him just essentially rubbing like, oh no, like I'm into your chest. What's happening there? Oh, I'm driving you back a little bit. Let me turn and try and get open. I like the commitment to it, but then also the subtlety within it to not do too much to draw the flag. And then, it creates that open space for Shakir. And then Shakir does, the pinball wizard Khalil Shakir things. And I believe this one, we get a really nice snatch trap from Spencer Brown on the right side. If I am correct. Yep. Here it comes. Bang. Put him right in the dirt. Even though it's not a thing.
Go down you go. Even though it's not a technique in the NFL or hasn't been for years.
Playing football.
Good stuff. Good stuff by them. And so we're gonna move on a little bit. Bills empty set, obviously 4th down situation here. And they call a play that we've seen a bunch, but they make it look like that play, right?
Yes.
So they make it look like mesh. Normally you're just having this guy kind of commit to the crosser and kind of set that rub. Well, it looks very similar to that, but then they're pivoting out. They're, coming out of that break and returning. And so Josh, for some reason, I don't think he needed to break the pocket, but he kept the play alive long enough to get a dime down the field to Ty Johnson, who did one hell of a job at staying in bounds for this touchdown for the Bills.
This play was awesome. Obviously, this is going to be such a stupid thing to be annoyed by. I'm annoyed that this throw and catch came on mesh return because I was so pumped that it was mesh return, because like what you said, they run mesh so much, mesh rail, regular mesh on its own. And here, you get that mesh rail look immediately on the snap and it turns into mesh return. I thought it was such a nice little kind of tendency breaker, little tweak. And I like that. So conceptually and schematically layering and everything connecting. And then here goes Josh Allen and Ty Johnson, making it look easy for our Easy Loan Auto Sales play of the game here, which we continue this streak of just ridiculous plays that are not easy, but we select them for this highlight. I don't know what's more impressive, this catch from Ty Johnson, being boundary aware and having the knee down and making that sliding catch, or the throw from Allen, as I think this falls into, I say feathered, you got to pull the string. Verbiage that you use. This throw from this angle is nuts. Also, kudos to Spencer Brown there for still working, against Cooper, seeing that Allen's moving, doing what he can, stays mobile, doesn't just let Cooper go. They essentially
we highlighted that last week too, right? How Brown somehow always is escaping the pocket right as Josh is going to, and how he was getting into the body of, I think it was a Patriots pass rusher when they played them last. Like, he just does this routinely.
Yep. Yeah, and that kind of lets them almost reset the pocket a little bit, way outside, gives Allen more time. Exactly, highlighted a little bit. You got some defenders coming. This throw from this angle, just watch how literally it just, I feel like I want to do like the like type of deal for it with how this goes and just drops right in the moving target bucket. Like, just that throw is nuts. I love that it's mesh return, and then you get the cherry on top, 2 cherries really, with the throw. And I don't know, is there like a better Bills player off script for Josh Allen than Ty Johnson at this point? Like, big play off script, Ty Johnson?
He's got it. Like, he's the third down type running back, and Josh loves him. But some guys just have the ability to make big plays in these high leverage moments, and that's what you refer to that player. That's when you refer to them as having it. He just makes plays when called upon. He's not an every down guy, but when he's in there, he can be an every down guy, and he can be a big ticket impact guy.
Yeah, and we've just seen him make so many plays downfield. He had a tremendous blitz pickup in this game on the out and up to Dalton Kincaid. Man, yeah, just he continues to make these big plays, and this one coming in. And this was kind of like, this was that 4th down. It was still close. This kind of put the first nail in the coffin, really. Gave them the separation. They get the 2-pointer after to go up 21-7. This play was a big deal, and it was nice to see, the return piece built off the normal mesh rail. Ty Johnson continues his route, makes a ridiculous catch. Allen makes it a ridiculous throw, all culminating in our Easy Loan auto sales, making it look easy. Play of the game, sponsored by our friends at Easy Loan Auto Sales, who, regardless of your credit situation, Easy Loan can help get you behind the wheel and on the road to better credit. All of their vehicles include a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty, and they have 3 convenient locations in Buffalo, Lockport, and Niagara Falls. They can get you driving today. Go to easyloanauto.com to start your accelerated approval. And thank you, as always, to, again, our partners and friends at Easy Loan Auto for rocking with us for another season and having, I don't know, just an amazing set of plays to go with every single week.
They got quite the compilation coming at the end of this year.
Man, we really could just do an entire episode of like all the making it look easy plays of the game for the entirety of the year, and they would just have just a banger set of a playlist.
So let's finish off this breakdown with a banger, getting Curtis Samuel involved late in this game. This is a play that we've been waiting for, man. Uncork it down the field to Curtis Samuel. Let him catch the ball and do so, make some magic against Patrick Surtain, no less, for the touchdown. I love this play, and mainly because of the schematic piece of, okay, you can see the 4 strong, 4 eligibles to the top of the screen. The Broncos are in obvious man coverage, but watch the alignment of the little dirty bunch set to the top of the screen as Mac Holland moves. So now he becomes what? The 4th guy. He's number 4 inside of this, quads look. And so you see Patrick Surtain act like he's going to be coming across the field with Hollins. But of course, Hollins returns, and now it's good luck. Who's covering who? Look at that. They're stacked essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying, if you're not doing even if you are doing a banjo, like,
who do you banjo?
This is, I don't know what the defensive coordinators across the league are going to start doing versus these 4x1 looks. I don't know what that next evolution is, because they got to do something, because Brady is eating these DCs up on these type of plays, these dirty bunches, these 4x1 looks. And so as Curtis Samuel releases, Patrick Surtain had him initially. Well, now he's completely out leveraged. And when you have a single high post safety look, man coverage, these crossers are the money ball. And Josh is like, oh, okay, this is going to be a lot easier than I thought. Hits the top of his drop, eases into that throw, gives Samuel a nice ball. Samuel adjusts, and he changes, back across the field, breaks the tackle, and gets 6 points.
Yeah, this is reminiscent of some of the, Isaiah McKenzie deep crosser over stuff against the Patriots in that one game in New England that year, where they just refused to not play cover 1. And Bills were just like, all right, cool. Here comes all these deep crossers to Isaiah McKenzie. Right. Yeah, the pause that you had there on the snap is really like, POV, you're a defense in hell. Like, what do you do? Just right. Yeah. What do you do right there? Like, because even to the motion, right? That's exactly it. Like, even the action from Samuel and Shakir, like, are they going to switch release? Like, who's going to end up becoming the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4? Like, are they trying to create a pick or a rub? Are they getting right out into the route distribution? What do you get? And it ends up being nothing crazy on the snap, but it's that quads bunch look in the presentation and the return motion and that simple wrinkle. Surtain thinking, okay, I'm sticking with Mac Hollins. And then he sees his teammates disperse and he's like, uh-oh, I actually need to grab Curtis Samuel. And by that time, the juice and the speed of Curtis Samuel plus the free release off the line, it's over. But then the added bonus, right? Like you said, to not only make the catch, but put on the brakes, get upfield, break a tackle. This is that juice and like kind of that big play aspect that I think we would have seen more from Curtis Samuel this year had he not gotten hurt in camp with that toe injury.
Right. It's just beautiful to watch. And Charles says Brady playing 4D chess. Yeah, 4x1 D chess. Like,
I was
this
just saying,
just
good call.
ridiculous,
Nice.
dude.
Nice.
This is I don't know how defensive coordinators, aside from just, hey, let's zone this off. Like,
Right.
I don't know how you still stay in man coverage, whether you're banjoing or not. I don't know how you stay in man coverage and cover this and not get out leverage. I just don't understand, man. I don't know
Somebody's
what that
coming
next
open.
level is.
Somebody's coming open. Like, it is, all jokes aside, like, it's hell from a defensive standpoint. Like, I want to see somebody stop it, beat it, do whatever, because especially when you're adding the motion elements in.
Yeah.
And now you're adding identifiers or you're adding leverage changers. And then not only is it the motion, right? It's the speed of that motion and the snap timing and all of it.
Yeah.
So it's not only just like, okay, we're going to change leverage and we're going to change things. It's when you're snapping the ball in relation to the motion. And you have to figure all of this out defensively and literally the snap of your fingers.
And both sets of receivers. So you got Mac Hollins and you have Ty Johnson. You saw all four of them stacked, but those two release outside. And then you have Samuel and Shakir releasing inside almost simultaneously. I don't know. That's a brain buster there. Like, that's some sick stuff.
I was just saying that's diabolical. Like, that gets used so much now, but that's literally what that is. Like, how do you, and especially when you throw it in there or like weave it in there, it just puts you in hell. And especially against the team, the Broncos, I think it was 8th highest cover one rate, 7th highest man coverage rate, something like that. They're a team that lives in that, especially on third down, especially on money down in distances. They'll go single high. They will go man. Like, so that's a great man beater, and you're probably going to get man from the Broncos. Yeah. So call it and just, like that's so well done. Yeah. I felt bad for Surtain on that. That's just, I feel like that play finishes and he's just like, dude, like, this sucks. Can we go home?
Yeah. And it showed in his effort. I haven't heard Broncos fans like, that's not the typical effort you see from Patrick Surtain, right?
No, we showed it last week in some of the plays. Like, this is a dude who comes up and fits the run like he's a 4th string corner trying to make the team in preseason, like, let alone being one of the best, if not the best cover guy in the world. Yeah. You don't see that. Even just aside from our prep for last week, I'd watched 6 Broncos defense games throughout the year, and he is the guy that you want to model yourself after. If you're playing that spot, like, he does it right. He's a second generational NFL dude. His dad was good for the Dolphins for years. So he grew up knowing how to play the game, how to approach it. And he's everything you want. I mean, you don't play for Nick Saban that long at that level and not know how to play the game. And to see him, I don't want to say like tap out, but just kind of be like over it. That's just a good sign of like, you got to somebody and you got to that team with just what they were able to do. Yeah. That, poor Pat on that one. Just, that sucks.
And T Dobbs is asking, is Baltimore capable of copying our 4x1? Do you mean like for their offense? Yeah. I mean, everyone's pretty much running it. Yeah. I looked really quick, so forgive me if I'm incorrect there, but the Bills didn't bust out 4x1 in week 4. Just so you know. Keep that in mind.
Tucked in the back pocket.
Yeah, exactly. Joe Brady. And when I watched, kind of transitioning to that brief, discussion on the game coming up, when I watched that game back, it just felt so surreal because the offense felt choppy. It was disconnected. The timing of those motions, the spacing of, guys coming out of the routes, like it didn't feel as crisp as the Bills offense has felt late this year. Obviously, as the year progresses, the timing and rhythm gets better. But I do think watching that back, it felt disconnected. Carl adds another super chat. Thank you, Carl.
Mm-hmm.
He says, is it just me or does Spencer Brown give Homer vibes from Game of
Thrones?
He just spreads his wings and holds back 2 or 3 pass rushers from getting to Josh. I like that reference.
I like
I
that.
like it.
Cardinals on fire. Yeah, I could kind of get that a little bit. Like he's protecting Bran a little bit. And yeah, that's nice. I could see that. We might have to try and make this thing happen. Thank you. That's a good one, Carl.
Yeah,
I like that.
I'll pass that one on to Spence.
Right. And see what if he likes it, then yeah, it's money. Well done. I like that, Carl. Also real quick one, Erik, I started this earlier from Legits. We had mentioned it, or I think it was in passing. He wanted to know, what does eye discipline mean? And then what are the keys?
Yeah, I mean, that can apply to several positions, whether it's, we're watching Bernard earlier, usually linebackers have certain keys. Hey, you need to be keying the center and the 2 guards. And, if we're talking run game, usually there's a certain like poetry to their footwork to get into a certain blocking concept. So for example, you saw some power runs by the Bills, linebackers keying center and guards. His keys are the center and guards. Well, if you see 2 of the center and guard, kind of block back, and you see the other guard pull, you recognize your keys tell you that's a power run or a gap run. So that's what the eye discipline means. You're sticking to your keys, regardless. It can apply to many positions. You're sticking to your keys, and you have certain actions that you need to produce when you see certain keys pop up.
And that's a good example to kind of throw in with what offenses will do to try to monkey with that. You'll get those false pulls from the guard on play action, and it's a pass because they're trying to play off of, hey, we know those linebackers are keying that. They're looking for that flash of color for the pull from the puller. So let's pull somebody, but psych, like it's actually a pass. So now did we suck you up trying to time it and be like, oh, there comes the run. Uh-oh, let me slam on the brakes and robot and get back to, something coming behind me, but it's already too late. And yeah, so like Erik said, it applies to like a multitude of positions, and it just references, having your keys at those spots, understanding what your responsibility is, and then tying into the offense being like, we know what their responsibilities are. How can we mess with them and manipulate them? And ironically, something that Baltimore did a ton in that week 4 matchup, messing with eye discipline, misdirection, motion, eye candy, window dressing, however you wanted to like label it or focus on it. They did a great job of, forcing the Bills kind of where they wanted to go, kind of like a cat with a laser pointer, and just made them go where they wanted.
Yeah, Todd Monken has done that to a lot of guys this year, but he especially took advantage of the backup linebackers, Balen Spector, Dorian Williams, the backup nickel, and Cam Lewis in week 4. It's something that I just dropped a video before we went live of the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry read option game, and the concepts that the Ravens run off of that that tests the eye discipline, honestly, of defenders. And Monken does some things with eye candy prior to the snap, split flow post snap, in conjunction with those read option plays, those layered plays where he could either hand it off or run it out or run a pass off of it. It definitely tests the eye discipline of those, linebackers and backup players in week 4, which is why having Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, and Taron Johnson is so important this week. And I know a lot of Ravens fans they're in my mentions saying, yeah, well, the Ravens had some changes too up front on the line and injuries and this. Yeah, it's totally true. But we just know as Bills fans that the play, as we highlighted by Terrell Bernard, it stands out because of his processing. And Matt Milano's athleticism looks like it's back. And Taron Johnson, he does things that not many other slot cornerbacks, let alone linebackers, are willing to do in the league. So having those guys back in this game is crucial.
Even Taylor Rapp going out in like the early second quarter after trying to meet Derrick Henry coming downhill. Like, you get your quote unquote starters back, but especially the 4 guys who are arguably the most vocal on the defense in terms of setting the defense and getting you ready, and against the team that is all about, I would say all about, but very adept at misleading you and changing leverage and angles and putting you in a spot that is disadvantageous for you and advantageous for them, both in the pass, both in the run. And then on top of that, being able to displace you and get downhill and have the athletes that they have. This is such a tremendous test. And I think it's awesome that these two teams get to play each other again, because I felt like we were kind of robbed of some of the Bills fun stuff the first go around. Baltimore did some really cool stuff offensively and defensively, but we didn't really get to see that from like the Bills side of it because the game script and how the game went. I'm pumped to see them hopefully both go kind of toe to toe, blow for blow, swing for swing in this one. We should get a good, like, I don't know, technical, display of a fight where nobody gets knocked out and they go a full 12 rounds and somebody's winning by decision. Like, this should be a good one.
Yeah, and I know the big talk all week, and I had to almost mute it because it was just too much conjecture about it, was the 3 linebackers, again, having Bernard, Milano, and Dorian Williams on the field. It's going to happen. Like, that's not something that is abnormal for the Bills. In all of their matchups over the years, they have played actually a lot of, 3 linebacker sets. And so let's take a quick look at that before we wrap, courtesy of Chris Seth, our producer. So you'll see these are the historical from 2018 to now of the matchups of the Baltimore offense versus the Bills defense. And so as at the top, you see in 2018, the Ravens attacked with 11 personnel primarily and 12 personnel. In 2019, it was primarily 11 and 12. And then in the divisional matchup between these two teams, they were heavy 11 personnel, 15.1%, 22 personnel. And then you'll see it started to change a little bit. In 2022, the Ravens used 12 personnel, 31.3%, and then 21 personnel against the Bills, 34.4%. And then the following year, in 2024, in week 4 of this year, they were heavy 21 personnel, 27.8%, and 25.9% was 22 personnel. So 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, heavy stuff. And so then now if you slide forward, Anthony, and look at the Bills defensive matching for a lot of those games, you're going to see they're in 4-3 a lot. In 2018, over 44%, 2019, 57.6%, 2020, 39.7% in the last matchup in the playoffs. In 2022, they were heavy nickel and they lost that game. And then in week 4, they were in nickel a lot, again, partly because of injuries, but they played 4-3. So 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers, 25.9% of the time. And if you look at some of the base stuff, 4-3 versus nickel, and some of those wins and losses, I do find that funny. I don't think that's necessarily a correlation, but it shows that the Bills are going to play with 3 linebackers. And I expect it to be very similar to what a lot of the averages show, that when there's 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, I expect 3 linebackers on the field.
And yeah, with Baltimore, their 22 and 21 groupings are just so different because of the presence of Pat Ricard. What he is as essentially like a mini offensive lineman there, or maybe even not mini, just you essentially have like King Kong as your fullback, and he is just going to mash. And he's also athletic. Like he can move. You can do different things with him. He will crush your nickel. He will crush your linebacker. He will crush an edge. Like he is just an absolute mauler. And some numbers too for them this season. Their Ravens 22 personnel usage rate on the year, 12.6%, which was first in the league. The Chargers were second at 9%. So almost a full 4 percentage points ahead. When in 22 personnel passing for the Ravens, 0.42 EPA per pass, which is very good. Third in the league, 0.13 EPA per rush, also good. That was 7th in the league. A 21.8% pass rate out of 22 and a 78.2 run rate out of it. And we were talking Bills defense against 22 this year. Yeah. They were allowing a 0.52 EPA per pass, which was 22nd, and a 0.16 EPA per rush, which was 14th. So again, I don't think this is necessarily like we talked about, and you mentioned it as well. Like
we broke it down. We broke it down too, right? We've done the 3 linebacker discussion for like 3 weeks now.
Yep. And the Ravens going into it, it's not just a problem for the Bills, it's a problem for a multitude of defenses. Yeah. And I do think the conversation is interesting given still that presence of Dorian Williams and him being susceptible in a couple ways with his eye discipline and some coverage things. But if they do go with him, do we see more of what we showed the past couple of weeks? Do we get more of, a Sam look from him where he's on the line? And are they trying to put him in spots where it's like, hey, forget trying to process and read, Go be long-armed and strong and athletic and violent and try and jack up these tight ends. Or, you know what, honestly, it's a tough challenge. Give me Dorian Williams meeting Pat Ricard in the hole. Give me that car crash of physicality, like whatever they can lean into. But it's going to be something that Baltimore wields, and it makes sense because they can put you in a bind and in hell with the run and the pass out of it.
And it's something that we see, 21 personnel, we see a lot of because the Dolphins in the division is a lot of 12 and 21, but obviously they're a different animal. They use it, they have speed and guys.
Ingold as the fullback is much different than Ricard.
And so the idea I dropped in the video, again, it was more of a read option based, video and how they defend Lamar and Derrick Henry in those type of plays. But that applies to when those offense, when the Ravens offense is in those personnel groupings and you do have 3 linebackers on the field, it would be nice to see Dorian as an on the ball linebacker, because now you have a 5-man surface to help defend the run. He's there to set the edge to one side, and then you have Rousseau or any of the other DNs to the other side. And so if the Ravens are running some of those read option plays, those zone read plays, now he's the contained player because he's the end man on the line of scrimmage. He's a contained player that is outside, trying to keep Lamar boxed in, making him give the ball to Derrick Henry. And then now you're having the numbers because you have a 5-man surface and either a 4-3 under or a 4-3 over. You're going to have more guys in the box to defend the run, more physicality to defend the box. So he can set an edge. He can help contain and play the responsibility in the zone read game. I'm interested in that package versus certain personnel groupings. That's a key here, which is what we wanted to show with these slides. Again, thanks to our producer, Chris, that did a good job of charting those for me after I sent off over that data. It's just awesome stuff to think about when it comes to the X's and O's. And I know after this game, regardless if the Bills win or lose, this will be a subject that will be discussed because they're that difficult to defend. It's not just the Bills that are not a good matchup for this team, this offense.
No, I think the Bills are particularly vulnerable because of light boxes, nickel, 4-3 under, over front, yada, yada. But yeah, they're a buzzsaw for everybody. Like when they click. You cannot stop that Ravens deep offense. And so it's like, what do you do? How do you try to mitigate them, slow them down a little bit? How do you fight? How do you push back? Who do you lean into and when? And it comes in a multitude of fashions, like we talked about, from the containing Lamar aspect and the odd mirror pieces, and how, you got to keep throwing change ups and you got to get everything out and empty the clip a little bit. It also applies from a run defense standpoint. You have to present different surfaces. You can't just sit and, okay, we're going to, a 4-3 over and we're going to play nickel and maybe we'll spin a safety down. Do you throw, more 5 guys down onto the surface? Do you switch and you'll play more of that under front and use more of a Sam linebacker? And then are you doing any run stuts or run blitzes? And what do you do in conjunction with that? You have to throw multiple things because if you stay stagnant, they will kill you.
Yeah, and Amori asked, who else was 22 heavy other than Baltimore? Miami with Ingold. So real quick, the top team in 2 running backs, 2 tight ends personnel is the Ravens, 12.7%. This is just for the regular season this year. Chargers, 11.5%. Saints at 7.6%. The Dolphins, 6.3%. They're 4th overall. Now 21 personnel. The Ravens are 3rd at 20.6%. And then you have the Niners at number 1 at 34.9%. The Dolphins are 2nd at 30.3%. So again, it's a different animal, though. It's a different animal. Ingold versus Ricard. You're going to see Ricard in the backfield in strong eye formations. You're going to see him in line like a tight end or extra tackle. We'll call him an extra tackle, not even a tight end, because he's a load. And something they did pull out that we'll discuss real quick before we get you guys out of here is another personnel grouping with having the extra offensive lineman for the Ravens, but then also having the tight ends, but also Ricard.
It's so ridiculous.
Line. They essentially ran goal line against the Steelers.
And I think like 15 plays of it, kind of roughly, with that 6 offensive linemen, and they mashed.
And they were just taking that extra tackle and just caving the edge of the defenses and running gap runs. Yeah, as good as the Bills DNs are setting the edge, having 2 tackles coming down on you and displacing you inside so that they can get the running back Derrick Henry off tackle and off outside the tight end. I don't know, man. I don't know if there's enough sand in the pants of a lot of these guys. They better be ready because the Ravens are coming downhill at them. They're not hiding it. They're showing us everything. They're showing us all these heavy packages, and honestly, the Bills got to be ready for it. And I think they will be. I think they will be prepared. As I said, going in, at the Broncos game, I think they will be prepared.
Yeah, they need to be. I'll say Broncos offense. This Ravens offense is well versed and physical and fast and mean and good schematically and good individually. And yeah, it's funny you mentioned the 6 offensive linemen. Since I got some tweets and some posts coming out later tonight for some of the stuff Baltimore did in that game against Pittsburgh with it, and all of it. All you need is like just some displacement to create a runway for Godzilla at running back. And if he gets a runway and gets downhill, if he gets 3 or 4 full strides, look out, because he's falling forward or he's running through you, regardless of who you are. And that Bills D line needs to do work, because you don't want Henry. You don't want Henry getting that runway against smaller Terrell Bernard, smaller-ish Matt Milano, Taron Johnson. We saw what he did to Rapp last time in their first meeting. Yeah, man, it's a big challenge for this Bills team, but also too a big challenge for the Ravens. With what this Bills offense has been. Joe Brady is clicking, is humming. Allen has been arguably the MVP this year. And even aside from Allen, this Bills run game, aside from Allen, is a good run game. They are concept diverse and scheme diverse. They can spam different matchups and different concepts based on the opponent or matchup, I should say. And they've got some ball winners on the outside that they can lean into, and some guys who can win in a multitude of ways. And that Brady is very adept at scheming. And they have one of the best offensive line coaches or position coaches in all of football in a good offensive line. This is a tall task for Baltimore, just as it is for the Bills, which makes it such a very fun game to talk about and watch, and then obviously break down here in the film room. Erik, anything left on your mind as we wrap up and say goodbye to the fine folks?
No, like I said, that was a quick preview of that game. I dropped a video. It's about 9 or 10 minutes long, about the Ravens offense and their unique personnel, also known as Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and how the read option game essentially splits a defense in half. There's 2 plays, there's layers there, and they test the eye discipline. They test the run gap integrity. They test your metal, because you got to strap it up, because you have one of the most, overbearing type running backs that's ever played the position coming downhill at you. But then you also have the most dynamic runner almost of all time in Lamar Jackson getting on the perimeter. You have to pick your poison. And so that approach to how they look to stop those 2 guys is going to be interesting to watch. And hopefully the Bills are, hopefully the Bills bring their A game when it comes to that. And they usually do when it comes to the read option game. They have really slowed down the Ravens over the years relative to the league when it comes to that. But they don't have the Shaq Lawsons anymore. They don't have the Trent Murphys anymore.
Yeah, the legend.
Yeah. Do they, do the guys like Greg Rousseau and Von Miller and Dwayne Smoot and some of those other edge guys, do they have the discipline to defend that read option game of the Ravens? We'll see. We'll see Sunday.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to frame it. And, I'm sticking on that defensive line as well, but on the interior, like, do they have, the verbiage you just used, do they have the sand on the interior, those second and third wave dudes? Do you not get displaced? Can you hold your ground? Can you handle doubles? Can you handle base blocks? Can you stay at your spot, keep your second level clean, or just gum up the works inside in a multitude of ways as much as you can? You don't even have to win inside. Just don't get blown off the ball. Just make things harder inside for that run game. And then keep them in. Can you get them to 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7? And then can we start to play some coverage pieces? Can we start to lean into that bag a little bit in terms of coverage and pass rush, and what can we do? But man, yeah, I'm so excited for this game, not just as a Bills fan with an opportunity to go to the AFC Championship, but as a football fan, schematically, like, the tape should be awesome for this one. The broadcast should be awesome for this one. And regardless of what happens in this game, we, of course, will have you covered next week in the film room to break down anything and everything that you need to know about Bills versus Ravens. Start to say goodbye to you fine folks. Before you leave, if you're joining us live, please, and thank you if you have not already, drop a like on this video here on YouTube. It goes a sincerely long way towards helping us to track and trend in front of more eyes and ears. If you are listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, that's cool too. Please rate and review and subscribe to the Film Room. Turn on notifications for the Cover One Film Room playlist on YouTube. Subscribe to the Cover One channel, where we have you covered pretty much every single day of the week with various levels of Bills coverage. Whatever your poison is, we have it for you. Thank you very much to Mr. Carl Tommen for your multiple super chats. Thank you very much, as always, to our producer, Chris Seth, who makes our job so much easier. There's so much work that goes into this show in terms of the prep and the workload, and Chris does a tremendous job helping to set us up for success. So major thank you to Chris, as always. And that'll do it for us here in this episode of the Film Room. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. If you are going to the game this weekend, have fun. Have a great time. Probably bundle up because it's supposed to be really cold, and cheer on the Bills and try and make life hard for the Ravens if you can. That'll do it for us here in this episode of the Cover One Film Room. I'm Anthony Prohaska. That is Erik Turner. We will see you when we see you. Godspeed. And as always,